I played with fairies when I was a little girl, and I've always talked to trees and knew that they were talking back and could hear them. But my mother and my cousin and I took a trip to Ireland in 2009. And sitting on the cliffs of Moher in Ireland, it was like that crack open where I remembered who I really am, and the amazing energy and peace and love and, emotions impossible to describe that flooded through me. And that's when I took my first step on the path that said, I am magic and I need to be living that life.
Welcome to Conversation for the Soul. I'm Linda Christine, and today I had a wonderful conversation with Marynthel Willowbrook. Marynthel is a witch. She is a modern-day witch, or as she likes to call herself, a wise woman, which seems a little bit softer and more palatable for many these days. She's a very interesting lady. She's a very well-versed poet. Her poetry is absolutely beautiful, and I share one of her poems with everybody. And she's a Reiki master, and she also had a paranormal investigation in her old Victorian home, and she has spirits that live in her dolls. So you're going to get a really cool conversation here. She was holding out on me on that paranormal stuff and the dolls, and then we found out, and this is a wonderful conversation. I think you're going to have a lot of fun listening to it. She is, in fact, a very wise woman, and go check out her poetry after you listen to this. And of course, please like, share, and subscribe. Beautiful stories from beautiful souls get told on this podcast. And the more people that share it and like it and subscribe to it, the more beautiful souls we can have on here and spread the word and assist in healing and getting our planet put back together. I love you guys, and I hope you enjoy this show with Marynthel. Here we go. Hi, Marynthel. I am so glad we were able to get together today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you making the time. I found Marynthel on Instagram and was blown away at her writing. She is an amazing poet. I would call you a poet. Your writing it just pulls the reader in to the place and the space where you are in your soul and in the forest. And I could not love it more.
That's my goal. So thank you for saying that, is to bring people in and remind them of the magic that's out there.
Oh, and that is her handle on Instagram. People, go find Deep Forest Magic, Magick Magic. Oh my gosh, you will not be disappointed.
Thank you.
And you know what? Maybe to start, we'll just let's kick it off with I have your favorite post thus far that I have found, and I haven't read through all of them because it looks like you have years of things on there. But the one that I really love so deeply, I would love to read it to everybody if you're open to that.
Of course.
Okay. I actually think everybody should close their eyes because you're really going to be taken on a journey with this. I grow weary of playing the game. I shall find my way back to the home in the woods, close the door and stay hidden until time moves on once more. I'll make saffron cream cakes and brew blackberry tea. I'll make art and music and dance to my own songs. I'll wield magic and enchantments galore. I'll build my own world anew with animals and wee folk, my only company. And wild vines I'll grow inside until my earth womb is done, and there I'll wait to see. I knew the way once. I think I'm almost there. Just a few more steps. Wow, that really gets me emotional when I read that too, because it's, oh,
Yeah.
excuse me, but I think we've all grown weary of this journey.
Yes. Especially, I think, those of us who feel like we've done it more than once, over and over and over again.
And do you feel that way, Marynthel? Have you done this bazillion times like me?
For millennium.
Yeah, it gets old real quick. But apparently we signed up for this.
We keep agreeing.
Now, what's your belief on how that works?
Um, well, you mean like when we pass and go home, and I had a amazing past life regression. And one of the lives that I visited was home, where I go between lives. And that one was hard to come back from because it's so amazing there. And you come back here and it's so heavy and sorry, now I'm getting emotional.
That's okay. Do it. Cry, girl. It's good.
So I believe that yes, we make a contract and agree to come back to either learn something ourselves or to help others learn something. And my position seems to be that of a watcher, and that I come to try to help humanity remember who they are and get back to goddess, source, whatever you want to call it, and yeah, fix what's broken.
Hmm. So beautiful. Um, what how did your conscious awareness unfold for you? Have you always been this witchy gal your whole life, or was there something
Oh,
that cracked you open that brought this life?
always. I played with fairies when I was a little girl, and I've always talked to trees and knew that they were talking back and could hear them. But my mother and my cousin and I took a trip to Ireland in 2009. And sitting on the cliffs of Moher in Ireland, I just, it was like that crack open where I remembered who I really am, and the the amazing energy and peace and love and emotions impossible to describe that flooded through me. And that's when I took my first step on the path that said, I am magic and I need to be living that life.
I had no clue this is going to be such a difficult show to do. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
I think that's how my connection happened with you.
Yes. I'm
Mm. Yeah, I was at that same location, and I wasn't quite as cracked open as I am now, but definitely the land just really touched my soul.
yes. The ancestral energy that I said, you can see and feel the magic in the air there. I mean, it is such an incredible place. And I'm Irish, so the ancestral energy was just so intense the moment we set foot on ground, my body just started vibrating, and I knew that it was going to be an incredible experience. But yeah, it's quite a place, and I think
Mm.
it's probably cracked open a few people.
It is quite amazing. So before that, did you have, because I know you practice many things. Witchcraft does not encompass all of it. You do Reiki and you work with chakras. You do so many many modalities. When did you start practicing it? Was it after that trip, or were you practicing up until that point as well?
Yes, after that trip. Um, when I got back, I had a soul retrieval session with a Native American shaman, and Hecate, however you want to pronounce it, came to me in that soul retrieval and called me and claimed me. And if anybody knows anything about the goddess Hecate, you don't say no when she calls you. And that was when I really started delving into the witchcraft part of me. And the only piece of me that she said I had lost and needed to reconnect to was that of wise woman, which, made a lot of sense.
So what clues did you have leading up to that point that I'm not one of these normal people here?
Well, I was raised in a very strict religion, and it never resonated with me. And I always felt closer to what I called God then. Now I call Source. When I was out in the forest than ever sitting in a church pew. And the people around me were very different as well. And when I started entering the pagan community, the acceptance and love that they give, no matter what your belief system is incredible. And I didn't find that in religion either. They were kind of, it's this way or you're not accepted. So I always kind of felt on the outside of that. But because I played with fairies, I had to keep all of that hidden, because in our religion, of course, that was, evil, satanic, all those things. So I had to keep a lot of myself hidden as a child.
When you see the fairies, how do they appear to you? Do they look like Tinkerbell, or are they like really quick and out of the corner of your eye? How do you see them?
Some of them are like Tinkerbell, not many of them. Most of them are very elemental looking, but I have seen fairies as tall as me. I saw a lot in Ireland, and
Wow.
they were larger creatures. But yeah, they come to me as light. They come to me in their true form. Um, Sometimes they just come to me through the elements, like talking to flowers, and they don't show themselves, but you can hear them and know they're there.
Wow. So you have the beautiful gift of sight and auditory as well. That is so wonderful. I believe I've photographed them because I do take a lot of pictures when I'm out in nature. And I see little twinkly things I capture on my camera and things like that. So I totally believe in them. I would just love to see one straight on one day.
I hope you get to do that one day.
I hope so too. Um, so witchcraft has gotten a very bad name. It's like a lot, religion has really just kind of made it satanic and awful and horrible and dark and evil. And like everything, there's good and bad in
Everything.
the Wiccan community, of course. But describe to me what your definition and vision of a witch is, because it is to me nothing like the evil things that religion describes.
No, I think witches are light workers. They work with the elements, and their goal is to do good and to heal people and spread peace and love and healing and just the joy of nature and that connection, because we're missing that so much. I mean, we have moved so far away from when we were communing with nature and with the plants. And when the plants can share their energy with you and tell you what they're good for and what to use them for, and you can make a medicine from their teaching, to me, that's witchcraft. It's, I mean, if you want to call it magic, there's magic in it. But to me, the magic is just what's in nature, it's what's all around us. And we're just learning to harness that.
I
But,
totally agree. And, I don't think you need a book of spells to do things either. I think you can just follow your own intuitive guidance. And especially in nature, to me, it's my church, it's my sacred space. So I'm right there with you, sister.
and I am not Wiccan. I'm an eclectic solitary witch, because to me, Wiccan is another religion. It comes with a hierarchy and rules, man-made rules, and nature doesn't have that. So yeah, I am not Wiccan. I'll just put that out there.
Well, I just learned something new. I was not aware.
Yeah.
That's cool. Good to know. So what is your favorite part of nature, and how do you bring those elements into your daily life?
Trees, number one, trees, absolutely. The first time that I said I talked to the trees when I was a little girl, but the first time I realized they were talking back, again, I was in Ireland. And it was our second trip there, and I was going to bury my mother's ashes. And we went to this spot where we had visited when we went together, and I had walked into the forest, and this tree just started singing to me. And it was like you see in the movies, kind of where everything fades away and there's just you and the tree, and you're like drawn together, floating. I don't know how else to describe it. But this tree just sang this beautiful song and drew me to him. And then we had a full-fledged conversation. And, he said he would watch over my mother, and I buried her ashes at his roots. And then when I went back and read the travel journal I was keeping, I realized I'd been hearing them all along. We went to Glendalough, and I had written in the travel journal that the trees long for those who can hear them, for those who are still listening. And I mean, I ended the passage with, why is no one else listening? Because it kind of broke my heart. And from that moment on, then I could communicate with them regularly. And it just, yeah, so trees, they're my favorite thing. But the forest, the ocean, I'm deeply connected to water. I'm a water sign. But so those two elements, I think, are my favorite. But yeah, trees in the forest, I think, have to top the list.
I'm right there with you. Wow, we're cut from the same cloth, I think. That's when I first started opening up my ability to channel, was when I was walking amongst the pine trees in the forest. And I really believe that they are antenna for us to pull in information from the universe, from the cosmos, whatever. It's that amplifier to get the messages. Have you found that?
Oh, absolutely. I have said that I think a lot of my poetry comes from the trees. I a lot of times I look at something I have written and said, I don't know where that came from. And, you know, I even wrote a poem one time that said poems drop from the trees. So I feel like they feed me that energy and that wisdom and knowledge, and they're ancient creatures. They've seen a lot.
They have. What kind of wisdom have they shared with you?
Oh, oh, besides just reconnecting and some of the things that I've put in my poetry, um, the release, the peace that they have to give, the wisdom that they want to share with people, um, how to take care of the earth, how to listen to the nature elements. Um, and again, the poetry, I believe a lot of it comes from them. I really do. They reach, as above, so below. They're deep in the earth. They're up into the heavens. They are that connection.
Hmm. What what's the most magical encounter that you've had? I mean, that tree one's pretty magical, but what other ones stand out to you where you're just like, wow, this is amazing?
Well, once again in Ireland, um, walking through the forest, and there was some kind of portal. I was with my cousin, who is very religious and doesn't believe any of this, believe in any of it. And we're walking along, and I just stopped and I looked at her and I said, we're the only people who have ever been here. And she said, I know. So she felt it when we went through the portal, but for her, it was, I think, a different experience than for me. I went back in time, and I was millions of years, when Ireland was covered with forest. And because I was with her, I wasn't able to let go and just experience it. So I want to go back there to that forest by myself. That was pretty magical. um, here here in my own yard, um, the trees and the parks around me, the trees gift me. Oh, I'm looking for a branch for a wand or for a project, and I'll just ask them, and the next thing there'll be this amazing, knotty, beautiful branch on the ground for me, and wasn't there 2 minutes ago, so I know it's a gift from them. And yeah, I, I could go on for hours about the magic of trees.
I know, I feel the same way every time I go into the forest and I find a really cool feather. Like I have a big giant jar full of feathers, and it's like, yeah, they're gifts,
Yeah,
and I appreciate it, and I look at it as a gift.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about how you evolved out of the term witch into did you say wisdom keeper?
Wise woman.
Wise woman.
I think back in the day, we probably didn't have titles anyway. Back, when time began, kind of a thing, we were wise women. People came to us for healing. People came to us for wisdom when they had issues. And I don't think the word witch probably even entered into it back then. But when I started expanding into Reiki and some of the other energy work, sound healing, and those types of things, um, it becomes more than just witch, although those things are part of being a witch as well. But because also witch has that connotation, I think using wise woman may appease some people that have a problem with that term while they're still getting the same medicine it doesn't feel negative to them. And it's just a title.
That's perfect. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So how do you, like, if I remember right, I did Reiki 1 and 2 and learned the modality, but never really practiced it. I used to do it on my kids when they were little and my dogs. That's about it. But how do you incorporate your own wise woman into that practice and modality?
Because it's very intuitive. When you're working on someone, I think all of that intuition comes in, and that magic that we've gained from nature and from working with the elements works with the Reiki and with that energy so that you're reading their body correctly and finding their trouble spots and finding their pain. Reiki is a wonderful tool for healing. It's such amazing energy work, but that's what witchcraft is. It's energy work. So it just goes hand in hand, works together perfectly.
Now, when we first got on, I saw a nice big crystal sitting in front of you. Um, how do you work with crystals? What do you do specifically with them?
Well, of course, I believe each crystal has its own energy and healing properties as well as herbs. So I use them in Reiki, I use them in just my daily practice. Whatever I'm trying to do, I'll find a crystal that has that energy. This one happens to be a Lemurian. Um, and I don't know if you know about Lemurian crystals, but they say that they have ridges in them. And they say that the wisdom of the Lemurians, there's messages in those ridges. So they're sharing their wisdom with us. So I meditate with them a lot. I'll sit with them on my third eye, depending on, what I'm doing. I use crystals for almost everything. I use crystals even in Reiki. I use Shiva lingam stones under the table to keep the patient grounded so they don't, float away.
I love those stones. They're so, wow, they're neat, really
Yeah.
neat. So are you able to interpret what your crystal, your Lemurian crystal, what knowledge it is holding?
No, not yet. And well, I say that I get messages, whether, and I believe I lived in Lemuria. I believe that was one of my past lives. Um, so I do get messages from them, and I have a large one that actually changes the picture inside, changes when I'm meditating with it and shows me different things too. So, and it's a matter of interpretation, what I see and or what I feel intuitively. So maybe yes, I think I do. I am able to read the messages.
It's not like picking up a newspaper, you gotta
Right.
tap in a little bit. Yeah.
Very.
So talk a little bit, because sounds like you've had quite a few regressions.
One regression, but he left the Akashic records open so that I could go back and revisit those particular lives. The one where I go in between lives, revisiting that one taught me so much about myself and my other lives here. Um, it's unfortunate we have to forget that when we come back. Life would be so much easier if we remembered why we were here and who we really are. But that's the other thing, too. I want to help people discover how big they really are. We tend to make ourselves and our magic so small, and we are such powerful beings if we just tap into that and remember.
Well, it seems like that's the programming that they want us to have to keep us down because we are too powerful.
Right. And women especially.
Yeah, that's I don't even want to go there where that's going right now because it seems like that's a whole nother level agenda thing happening there.
Right. But even if you don't go where we are now, I mean, we're responsible for the downfall of the world if you listen to, yeah.
Yep.
So
So you're in between. Describe to me what that looks like, what that feels like. Who was there?
the in between, I'm sorry.
The in between
Oh, in
between
between.
your lives when you
Oh,
visited.
oh, I can do my best to describe it. Um, when I first went, I was above, and I say clouds, but they were rainbow colored. And it was more like mist on water type of thing. And I saw this beautiful golden archway. And then there was a city, not like any city we think of here, but it was what I call a city. And I went and visited. Now I'm going to get emotional again.
That's okay.
All Mother or Goddess, whatever you want to call her, this being of such pure love and light. Like there could be nothing dark in her at all. And I went before her and she put a crystal shard of light, something in my heart, and said, don't waste it. Well, I thought she said, don't waste it. In revisiting, I think she said, you won't waste it. And that was all, well, no, my first trip. I was a translucent, I mean, I kept putting my arm up and going, I can see through me. I was this translucent rainbow being with, yeah, it was amazing. On revisiting, I found my forest home. I have a home in the forest there, and I weave tapestries that tell the story of the goddess and our lives when we come back here. And I had these beautiful tapestries just hanging all over in the forest and in my home, and just such a place of pure peace and joy. I mean, and lightness. And it was interesting because um, the gentleman who did my regression, I can't remember what his title is. I feel horrible. But he said I quit breathing during that whole life I visited, which was very interesting to me. So he felt like maybe it was water based, like maybe even underwater, because, or I just don't need to breathe there. I don't know. But I was talking to him, but I wasn't breathing.
Wow.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And for days, well, probably 2 weeks after that, I was just, I didn't know who I was because it kind of turned everything I knew or thought I knew about myself on its head. And one of the other things I did in that life was visit other realms. And I would just like hear this chime of a bell, and I would be in another realm and I would look like whatever creatures were in that realm. So when we came back, I was like, I don't know if I'm a giant or a dwarf or who I am, what I am. It was disconcerting at first and took quite a bit of time to reconcile all that. And yeah, I don't know that I've still done it completely.
Wow, that's incredible, Marynthel. Wow.
But
What do you have connection with dragons at all?
I do.
Tell me about that because I'm very much into dragons.
Are you?
Well, it's a new thing that happened for me. So I like to learn new stuff about them whenever I can.
Well, the only thing I know about them from that life was that I did go and play with them and work with them and became a dragon when I was in their realm. So that's got to be a connection somehow. But to me, it told me I'm connected, which I think we all connected to all beings, to all creatures. We are all part and parcel of the same thing. And the divisions that we create between us are so far from our truth and what we really are.
What did we come here to learn?
I
And
think that
why do we forget? Why do we have to forget?
I think that depends on the lifetime and the person. Because, like I said, I think sometimes we come to learn, and I think sometimes we come to help others learn. But I think we come here to try to help humanity get it right and to stop the division and the hatred and the anger and all the things in the world that are so prolific right now. And to remember that we are all connected and that we need to be working together.
All the things that are going on right now, is everybody that's here a star seed, or are some people something else and we are sent here to assist?
I believe we're sent here to assist. I don't believe everyone is a star seed. My husband, for instance, was told this is his first life. And I believe some of us are star seeds or celestials, some of us are human, some of us are other. I think there's probably elementals here as well in human vessels right now. Everybody trying to work to help humanity and this planet to heal before it's too late.
It's a shit show, isn't it?
It is.
Do you think we're going to make it? Are you able to intuit into that, and do you feel like we're going to make it?
It doesn't feel like it right now, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, but I think we'll make it even if there has to be a major reset at some point. And I think that's what we're trying to avoid, is to have a major reset.
Is there going to be any love lost if you have to go back because of a reset?
Go back home or come
Yeah,
back here?
go back. Oh, not coming
Oh,
back here. I don't want to come back here.
nope, I'm ready. And I've said, this is it. I'm done. This is my last time. No, I'm sure I probably said that other lives too, but no, I'm ready to go home. I've seen it. I've been there. Yeah.
And you're
But
not the first person I've talked to that said, yeah, this is my last time. I'm done.
yeah,
I've said it.
yes, I'm sure it's tiring and it's painful to watch what humanity does to each other and to their home. It's painful.
It is. It really is. So you mentioned a husband.
Yes.
Are there children, grandchildren, all the above?
I have an adopted son and two granddaughters. Yes.
So
Six.
what does everybody make of Marynthel's practice?
Um, my husband takes it in stride. The other thing that I do is I work with spirits. So I have spirits in my home. I invite them into my home. I have, I think, 27 mirrors here in my sanctuary so that they have entry. I buy dolls that have attachments because I can't leave them in the situation they're in. And I help them cross. I help spirits cross when they want to cross, and those, but it's always their choice. So that part was a little more difficult for my husband.
Well, I feel like you've been holding out on me, Marynthel. Come on here. The mirror thing, explain all that to me. That's fascinating. And the doll thing too. Dolls, I will be honest, creep me out.
Yeah, they creep a lot of people out. Okay, so the mirrors are portals for spirits. It's why in like Victorian times, and they would cover the mirrors when someone passed, so that evil spirits couldn't
Oh.
over their body. And
Hmm.
but yeah, so I invite them in. They're welcome here. There has been some negative ones come in. I can either ask them to leave, which I have done, or I can transmute them depending on, you know, what their wish is and how negative they are. But it's like with the dolls with the spirits. My intention when I started getting them was to sell them. But I feel just as responsible, like not selling a human, a spirit that's negative. I feel just as responsible for protecting the spirits against humans that might exploit them or, you know. So that leaves out online because you can't really vet people online. So now I have a room full of haunted dolls.
Okay, so what do they do when they're haunting you?
um, they just, okay, all the ones that I have are very well behaved. They break things occasionally. There's some children here, and I have a little dragon on my shelf. And one day I came in, and there were all these little black things on the floor, and I was like, "What is that?" And I picked it up, and they were all the little spikes off my dragon. So they had obviously been playing with the dragon. He was still on the shelf, but all of his spikes were on the floor. And then I have a Karanenos statue, and he just sits on my grid table. He's never moved. And one day he's holding a little wreath, and that was broken and laying on the table. But they close doors, they bounce balls, they whistle, they move furniture occasionally. But they're, I mean, they're people. They used to be people. So I can't.
So how do you come to find them? How do you know they have
Oh,
spirits in
they
them?
they find me. Yeah,
Like,
they
tell me how. Like when? Give me an example of one.
okay. The spirits in the house, they find me and they just show up.
Okay.
Uh, like the dolls, I can just tell. I can feel the spirit, and they'll talk to me. I have some that okay. I had a young girl whose spirit was so traumatized that I chose to cross her over without her permission because she couldn't really give permission because she was so traumatized.
Do you know what
So,
happened to her?
well, she's where she goes between lives now.
Okay. But I mean, what happened to her that caused the trauma?
Oh, yes, I do know. She was severely abused by her family and physically and sexually, and yeah, she was a mess. So she needed more healing than I could give her just, working with her spirit. So I crossed her over. But then that vessel sat empty, the doll, and then another spirit came and decided to take over that vessel. So now it has a new spirit, and actually that one was a Kentucky senator or governor. And yes, they talk to me. I've had mediums in, I've had paranormal investigations. I use Ghost app, Ghost, I think it's called Ghost app on my phone, and also something called Necrophonics, which was developed by a friend of a paranormal investigator that I have that doesn't have banks of words in it like a lot of them do. So if you're hearing words, it's because the spirits are speaking. It's just like EMF vibes. So, but they actually talk through that. Um, Part of it is on my Instagram if you want to go surfing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go dig that up because I have orbs that have been showing up more and more and more and brighter and blinking and flying around, and they'll wake me up sometimes and spirits will come in, that sort of thing. Talk a little bit about orbs because it's hard to find information about what they are, how you can discern who they are, what they might be, who they were, maybe.
Right. Well, orbs can be different things. I mean, orbs can be fairies or elementals. They can also be spirits. So it depends on what type of orb you're seeing. And it's basically, again, intuition on my part, knowing, and the spirits will speak or the fairy will speak. And so I'll know which one it is. Um, but yeah, it depends on the orb and the person. It can be several different things. But it sounds like you have spirits in your house too.
Yeah, I believe I have. I feel like some of them are maybe pets that
Okay.
don't know they don't need to be here anymore. There's little tiny blinky ones that blink along the floor, maybe elemental.
Yeah.
I guess I need to sit with it more, but I did have an experience once. I had two people pretty close to me that crossed over. One crossed over probably four years ago now, showed up to apologize to me. And I'm like, stop that. Why are you here? Cross over now. Don't be here. There's nothing for you here. Go be with the light. You're good. Everybody loved you, which I can understand that. And then another one was a relative that died suddenly and didn't know what was going on. So I had to lead her to cross over as well. And when both of them showed up, because I record video and you can surf my Instagram, I record video of the orbs because I know when I'm being pulled to do something, and there were tons of them flying all over the room.
Yeah. So they're speaking to you too. Yeah.
I don't know that I want to invite them in though, because it's kind of a small space.
I have a big house. I live in a big old Victorian 4-story. So
There
there's
you
lots of
go. It's perfect for ghosts.
it is. And we have a shadow cat that that's here too. And when we were doing the paranormal investigation, one of the girls said, I just saw a cat up here. I said, no, there's not a cat up here. It's the shadow cat. She said, no, it was a real cat. I said, no. So she went looking around for the cat, and I'm like, it was the shadow cat. But he shows up, I mean, sometimes in his full cat form, briefly, but then he's shadow again.
I have another friend I believe all her cats now have crossed over, but they still show up and she'll see them in the house and other people will see them.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Close.
sorry, I cut you off.
It's okay. I said our pets like to stay close.
And I feel bad because I want them to go cross over and be happy and on the other side, you know?
But they're happy with you too. So
Will they follow us when we go? Come with
probably,
us?
probably.
That's good.
Okay, time to go now.
Let's
Mom's
go. So okay, I'm guessing this is an interesting story. How did you come to have paranormal investigators in your house?
well. Because I have spirits and worked with them for a long time. I got together with a girl, a woman, excuse me, her name's Wendy from Natural Collective. She is an amazing, amazing soul. And she had a friend who was a paranormal investigator. And so I met him. His name is Chucky G. And so he's like, "Ooh, let's do a investigation at your house and we'll call it the witch's house." I said, "Perfect, come on down." So that's how we got that. It was actually his idea, but I was more than open to it.
So what did they uncover?
Well, the dolls especially. I mean, there are other spirits besides the dolls that talked, but the dolls especially. I have a doll. His name is Billy. Well, no, the spirit's name is Billy. And he's an older gentleman and he's inappropriate and lots of fun. And he's always talkative. And Chuck had met him before, and he was, they would joke back and forth. Well, this night of the paranormal investigation, he was just quiet. He just, wouldn't talk. So we were sitting in the parlor, and I said, "Okay, Billy," I said, "we've been talking about Chuck coming for a couple of weeks here." I said, "So this is your time. Say something that Chuck will know it's you." And he said, "Asshole." Probably can't say that on your podcast.
No, that's fine.
But I mean, we all just burst out laughing because I said, there was nothing else he could have said that would have said, "Yeah, it's absolutely me, Billy." So that was pretty funny. But we had a negative spirit, and Chuck worked with it and asked it to behave because the other spirits were feeling intimidated. It was kind of like drawing their power and keeping them silent. So it promised it would behave, and it didn't. And so Chuck came back, and together we banished it and said, "Sorry, I wanted to let you stay, but if you can't behave, you got to go." Because every spirit is important, and they deserve a right to be heard and not feel scared and intimidated. They don't scare me. And I have a very firm boundary, and they're not allowed to touch me. But they touched some of the investigators that came in, like brushed their hair on their arm. But yeah, they don't. I have that boundary.
That's very
There's
good.
just and they're here all the time, so it would just be, crazy.
Is there a way to invite one on?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
How do we do that? I'm going to let you do that.
You just offer them your energy. I can't. Of course, I'm using my phone for the podcast, so I can't use the thing that could tell you that they're here. But
oh, that's okay. It was worth a shot. I'm going to just say, because I know somebody's going to say something about it. Is there a window open in front of you and perhaps cars driving by? Because every once in a while there'll be this reflection on the wall.
There is a window open in front of me, and there's a road. It's down below, though. I mean, I'm at the floor.
I wonder, you're going to have to go back and look at this and tell me what you think it is, because sometimes it looks like it's not of this world.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, Marynthel, I appreciate you being here today. Please tell everybody how they can connect with you if they wish to. And I will put all your website and contact info below that you want me to share with everybody in case they would like your services.
Okay. Well, I'm Deep Forest Magic on Instagram, as you said. I'm Waning Moon Spirit or Marynthel Willowbrook on Facebook. And I'm part of a website called wisewomengrowing.com. Articles and poetry and different spiritual things.
Beautiful. You are a beautiful soul, Marynthel, and I so appreciate you being here today. I hope we can do this again one day and maybe get another device for you to hop on with so you
Yes,
can use your phone.
yes, absolutely.
That would
Yeah,
be a
I'm
lot of fun.
good.
Or maybe
Thank you.
we could do a live ghost hunt at your house or something.
Oh, yes, let's do that. It was fun.
All right, my dear. You take care and you have a great day. Thank
All
you
right,
for being here. Alrighty. Bye-bye.
bye.